I literally felt her head was at the tip of my vagina. Oh. Hello guys! Welcome back to my channel! I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for all the positive feedback that I got from my previous video. It was honestly so overwhelming. If any of you have not watched my first video, I'll leave the link in the description and you can go check that out if you want. It's basically a story of how I found that I was 6 months pregnant. So yeah. So as you can see from the title of this video, I'll be sharing my birth story. This all happened last year on 2020. It was an induced labor, a scheduled induced labor. No epidural at all, so I felt everything. And it was a fast 6-hour labor. So without further ado, let's just get to the video! So I'm gonna actually backtrack it to a few weeks before my admission to the hospital. When I found out I was pregnant, of course I was having my pregnancy checkups, and that's when they realized that I was not just few weeks pregnant, I was months pregnant. And they kept a close eye on my baby. I had ultrasounds done multiple times a week. Though the growth of my baby was normal in terms of her organs was normal and her heartbeat was doing well, they could see that the baby was small. She was basically SGA. She didn't even reach the 10 percentile, so she was a really small baby. So the 13th of July, I was just having my regular doctor checkups, and that's when the doctors decided to have me scheduled for an induced labor. So July 26th was my admission to Queen Mary Hospital at 8 in the morning. My sister dropped me off, and as soon as I got there, I had to sign some paperwork. And just like any other pregnancy checkups, I had to pee in the urine pregnancy test strips to check for UTI, gestational diabetes, and preeclampsia. You know, the usual that you have going on in every pregnancy checkup. So after that was done, I had my blood pressure checked, and then once that was done, I got changed into the clothes they provided. Then after I got changed into the clothes, they finally escorted me to the bed that I was staying at. And then my sister had to go. She could not stay because no visitors during this time, because COVID was going really crazy. So not so soon after I got settled into my bed, a doctor came in to check my cervix to see what was going down in the situation down there. I need water.
A few moments later. 3 weeks later.
Okay, I'm done. So after the doctor checked my cervix, then she told me that they were gonna insert a cervix ripening pill. I forgot the name of the pill they use. Just put it outside the cervix to soften my cervix and to get contractions going on. So while they did that, I had to lie down for 2 hours while they had me on fetal heart monitoring, and then that was the first dosage of the cervix ripening pill. I didn't feel much contractions. I would say there were very, very small contractions going on, and it went away in the afternoon, and then that was it for the rest of the day. I didn't have any contractions at all. So on July 27th, which was my second day in the hospital, they did the routine, which was early in the morning. They have a doctor come in to check your cervix, and then the fetal heartbeat, and also they check your blood pressure. And since COVID was going on during this time, they also check your temperature. So after they checked my cervix, that's when the doctor said, your cervix is not quite soft yet, so we're gonna put you on the second dosage of the cervix ripening pill. So just like the day before, I while they did the
If we fall for, a bunch of
while they inserted the cervix ripening pill, I had to be in the fetal heart monitoring for 2 hours as well. But compared to the first day, my contractions were getting a little bit mild. They were a little bit stronger than yesterday, but I would say it was honestly like it was nothing. That was it for day 2. So on July 28th was my day 3 at the hospital. The doctor said they could not give the cervix ripening pill for 3 days in a row. So day 3 I had no pill inserted onto my cervix. And day 3 was honestly the most boring day at my stay in the hospital because I had no contractions at all. And all I did was just jump on the pregnancy ball just to start any contractions, to get the labor started. Just reading books, walking around, watching videos. Honestly, it was kind of depressing because during this time, there were a lot of COVID positive people in Hong Kong. Visiting rules were very strict during this time. No one could have visitors. If I were to have any food delivered to me, they would have to drop it off at the entrance of the hospital, and they will have someone like a security guard to have it sent over to your bed. Though you could go down to, let's say, a convenience store like 7-Eleven or Pacific Coffee, that was pretty much it. It was so hard because I had to go through this whole thing by myself. Even during my delivery, I had no one to hold my hand. No one was there. And of course, it wasn't just me going through this, all the other moms was going through this, and not just moms, but all the patients in the whole hospital was going through this. They had no visitors allowed, and it was honestly very sad. You just feel so lonely, and it was a very big moment in my life, and it was just so sad to have only experienced it by myself. And of course, it's not just me, but also my family back at home, who were, of course, just always so worried because I was gonna give birth by myself. I mean, honestly, thank God for phones, or else I would have lost my mind. So that was it for July 28th. July 28th, day 3 of my stay in the hospital, no contractions at all. So July 29th was my 4th stay in the hospital, and that was when the doctor decided to give me my 3rd dosage of the cervix ripening pill. So just like day 1 and day 2, I had to stay for 2 hours while they did the fetal heart monitoring. So when they gave me the 3rd dosage of the cervix ripening pill, I would say my contractions were getting stronger. Like, I could actually really feel like my contractions were getting stronger, but it went away around 1 p.m. So that was annoying because I honestly just wanted to get out of the hospital. And then 8:30 p.m., that's when my contractions started to really amp up. So I actually have an app that I downloaded to monitor, to keep track of my contractions, and as you can see that my contractions were actually getting really closer together. They were like 3 to 5 minutes apart and lasting for almost like a minute or so. And the doctor did say contractions, due to your hormones, your contractions do go crazier at night. So 8:30 p.m. was when my contractions were starting to amp up. And then 10:29 my water broke. And I swear, it literally felt like a water balloon popped in your vagina and just water came out, and I was like, whoa! And as soon as that happened, I told the nurse that, oh my god, my water broke, and I messaged my sister saying that my water broke. As soon as I told my nurse my water broke, they had me on fetal heart monitoring, and so just like there. And when my water broke, I swear to God, my contractions just got way stronger. Like, what the fish? Like, I remember, like, the feeling was just so. Of course, like, being a first time mom, like, first time being pregnant, everything was so new to me, feeling everything. It was just so overwhelming, and I was just trying to get through it. It was honestly such a crazy experience. 12 a.m., my contractions were getting really unbearable. It was getting really painful, and so I was telling the nurse, is there anything that could help relieve the pain? So what the nurse suggested was, essential oils, and they put it right here. They stuck it on my chest right here, as you can see in the photo, and it was peppermint oil, so it could help. It's one of the ways to relieve pain. Other than that, they also had me on a tense machine, and the tense machine is basically like this, and you can control the strength of the machine. Honestly, I would say it helped, but as my contractions were getting stronger, not even the strongest setting could relieve the pain, and I was just working on my breathing, just trying to get through each contraction. So at 12:45 a.m., this is officially my 5th day at the hospital. So the nurse came in to check to see if I was dilated, and the nurse could see that I was only 2 cm dilated, and the nurse said they would bring me to the labor ward once I was 3 cm dilated. So at 2:11 a.m., I had the nurse check how dilated I am, because the pain was getting really unbearable. Not even the TENS machine could work, essential oils could work. And so when the nurse checked how dilated I was only 2.5 cm dilated. Like I said earlier, they will only bring me to the labor ward once I am 3 cm dilated. And so I still had the TENS machine on, and the pain was getting so bad that I couldn't even lie down. Any position that I was doing was just not comfortable at all. I decided to stand up. That was what worked for me while I was having contractions. I remember just telling myself, after the next contraction, I'm gonna have the nurse come in to see how dilated I was, because girl, I could not take the pain anymore. I just wanted to get into that labor ward. And so the next contraction was rolling in. I was standing up. I was holding on to the table by the bedside, and I had this strong urge to push. And when I did, I literally felt her head was at the tip of my vagina, and I screamed so hard. And the nurse, I probably scared the other pregnant women in the ward. I screamed so loud, and then the nurse just ran towards me, and I was just screaming, and then they told me, lie down, and I just jumped into the bed, and I curled up into a ball, and then I was just screaming, and I was like, it hurts. They were in a rush. They pulled up the sides of the bed, and then they rolled my bed outside of the ward, and I was just curled up into a ball, and I was just screaming, ouch, it hurts. They're just screaming, don't push. And then, just like in the movies where you just see the ceiling of the hospital just like zing, 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 like that. Like in the movies, and all I could see was the lights, and I couldn't even see the nurses or whatever. I was just staring at the ceiling. So once they got me to the labor ward, they pushed my bed that I was lying in next to the delivery bed, and then I had to scoot myself onto the delivery bed. And they were still telling me, don't push. So once I was on the delivery bed and everything was settled, the doctor was like, okay, now you can push. And I was just pushing at each contraction, and it was honestly so painful. I was just screaming like my lungs, I was screaming my freaking lungs. So I didn't freaking care. I was just screaming at each push. I honestly don't know how long I was pushing. It was honestly so painful because I had no epidural whatsoever, so I felt every bit of it. And then soon after, my baby girl was born. So after she was born, I got to hold her for a while. Then the doctors had to take her to have her checked, to see if she was okay, and the thing is she was not crying. And so I was honestly so worried because I remember lying down on the delivery bed, and then she was in that baby bed where they check the baby. I was just looking at her and she was not breathing, and I was so worried because I didn't know what was gonna happen. And it was just so heartbreaking to see because I was just waiting for that cry, like, and then my baby wasn't crying. I was just so sad. I was just so worried because I didn't want anything to happen to her, and she was crying a little bit, but not the normal way. And then that's when the doctor said that they have to bring her to the SIBU to be properly checked. And so they had to take her away, and that was the last I saw of her after giving birth. Though I did see her again few hours when I could visit her at the SIBU. After that was taken care of, I had to still keep pushing because I had to give birth to my placenta. Then after that was done, they had stitches because I did have few tears from giving birth. And I'm gonna be honest, I did poop.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
I remember while I was pushing, I did poop. I think I pooped like a small one. I felt it. I didn't care because honestly, when you're giving birth, that's not the most important thing. You don't care, you're just thinking about pushing. So I did poop like a small one. Or I don't know, maybe it's a big one. I didn't see. So after the nurse had me cleaned up, they had me transferred to another ward where I could rest and stuff like that. So there I was in the ward just trying to get all the rest I could have. I did not have my baby next to me. I messaged my family right away saying that I just gave birth. Everything is good. I updated them with everything, with the baby, about the situation. And honestly, once I was resting in the ward, I could not sleep, even though I was exhausted from all the pushing. It was honestly a very traumatizing birth because it just happened so suddenly, and I was not prepared for it. Everything happened so fast, so each time I tried to go to sleep, the whole thing just kept replaying in my head. But honestly, I was also just worried about my baby. But then later on, around 10 a.m., when I finally had the strength to stand up and walk around slowly, I visited my baby girl in the SIBU. And as you can see from the photo, she was hooked up to some wires. She had oxygen up her nose, and apparently she had pneumonia. The doctor said she had problems breathing. She was gonna be under surveillance for a while, since also she's a SGA, so they had to watch out for any possible complications that she could be experiencing. They had to do lots of tests on her. So that was it for the 30th of July. So the 30th of July was the day my daughter was born, 2:44 a.m. and I just tried to visit her as much as possible because it was honestly very hard because I was trying to heal myself and it wasn't very easy to just walk. So, and she was on another floor. I was just hand expressing my colostrum into the syringes and then giving to the nurse, and they would have it delivered to her. And the thing is, I could not hold her because she had wires on her. I could only visit her and look at her, and I couldn't breastfeed her because of all the wires. And so that was it for the 30th of July. So on the 31st of July, it was my 6th-day stay in the hospital, and when I visited her, she was finally off the wire, so I could finally hold her. I forgot to mention, even though I was hand expressing my colostrum into the syringes, I had to do that to keep up my milk supply. But the thing is, they could not give it to the baby yet, since while I was pregnant in the first few months I was smoking a lot of cigarettes, and they had to make sure that my breast milk was clean enough for my baby to ingest. And so when she was finally off the wires and that I could finally hold her, I could not breastfeed her, though the nurses did suggest to do the kangaroo hold. So I was doing the kangaroo hold, as you can see from the photos, and it was just so nice to finally hold her. And not gonna lie, she is the second baby that I've ever held in my whole life, so it was honestly very scary to hold her, but you know, she's my baby and I just wanted to hold her, and so I did that, and we were just doing kangaroo holds, and it was just so nice. Since I could not have her next to me in the ward that I was staying, I had to visit her as much as possible in the SIBU, which was where she was staying. And later on in the day, the results of my breast milk came out, and that it was safe for my baby to ingest. Honestly, we had problems latching. She would not latch at all, so it was hard to do breastfeeding. But that's a story for another video, so watch out for that. Then came in 1st of August, which was my 7th day in the hospital. So that was the day that I could finally be discharged from the hospital. Though I could be discharged, my baby had to stay there for a couple more days because they had to run some tests on her and they had to observe her for any complications. And so I could finally go home, and my sister actually picked me up from the hospital. And actually my baby ended up staying in the hospital for 2 weeks, and I visited her every day of those 2 weeks. And since COVID was really bad in Hong Kong during this time, visiting rules were very strict. I was only limited to visiting her for 1 hour each day, and I had to pump my milk to keep up my milk supply. And so when I visited her, that's when I would drop off my express breast milk, frozen breast milk, and diapers, and I could only stay with her for 1 hour because of the strict visiting rules. But of course, 2 weeks finally came to an end, and I could finally bring her home, and she was finally with me. And that was honestly one of the most happiest days of my life, when I could finally bring her home after 2 weeks. And she's actually doing so well right now. She's actually taking a nap right now, so this is the time I get to film this video. And she is 10 months, and she's gonna be turning 11 months in just a week, and it's just been such a crazy ride. And so that is all I wanted to share with my birth story. So to any of you guys that are about to have a labor induction, a scheduled labor induction, I hope this gave you a little idea of what to expect. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Just like, subscribe to my channel, and click that bell so that you can be notified for my future videos. Comment down below if you have any suggestions for future videos or whatsoever. I'm more than happy to hear what you guys have to say. So I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye guys!